Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devaney. I'm a life and mindset coach for female founders, and my mission is to help thousands of ambitious, busy women become the number one asset in their life and business. Tune in as I share with you the behind the scenes of my own ambitious journey and help you bring the Zen back into your hustle so you can create the impact you desire and truly love your own ambitious journey as well. Welcome, and let's get into the episode. Hey, my ambitious babes, how are you guys doing? How are you feeling? I'm recording this a week in advance, so there's still no baby. However, maybe by the time you guys are listening to this, I may have announced that she has arrived. Who knows? I am just a few days shy of 39 weeks, so could happen any day. For today's episode, I actually wanted to keep on the motherhood theme for a little bit, as it's obviously something that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a big transition coming up where I'm going from 2 babies to 3 babies, and just been contemplating my capacity in that sense and just kind of everything that's required of me. And not just that, but also parallel with my business, I am now putting so much more into this product-based business. I have always kind of kept all of my risk pretty low when it comes to my entrepreneurial journey. I've kept, the cost low as well. If it was an easy barrier to entry, then of course I would go full force with it. But if it required some kind of, bigger monetary or personal investment, then, I kind of did what I could to be a little bit more risk averse in that sense. And this is obviously some smart business, right? Where it's you want to learn what you need to learn with minimal risk and minimal investment as you can. Sometimes, when you don't have the money, you put up the time, and, vice versa. When you don't have the time, then you put up the money. I obviously had more time than I did money, and that time was very precious and valuable because it would be the only time that I had that was not with my girls, because obviously I prioritized motherhood first. So now with this product-based business that has a lot more risk, because now there's a lot more monetary investment in it, because I have to, basically, pay for production and pay for manufacturing, pay for product. And that was really scary for me, right? I've already done a lot of investing in general and creating my planners and my and this brand in general. And now that I'm in this production process where I'm about to get it manufactured, that first order, that big payment is going to come in very, very soon. And obviously, there was a lot that came with this, where I was thinking, where am I going to get this money from? Am I going to apply for grants, which I have? I applied for many grants, haven't received any of them. Am I going to get a loan? Am I going to get a credit card? What am I going to do? And, my husband offered to basically pay for my first shipment. And this was very uncomfortable for me, even though he's been supporting me for now 8 years that we've known each other. I've always been able to, ask him for whatever it is that I need and things like that. It's just more of a personal thing for me. This is definitely a remnants of that hyper independent, ambitious babe mentality that I had for basically, I don't know what, my whole life, but definitely my whole adult life, since I've been on my own. Not even before I've been on my own, right? Because the way I was raised, we didn't have a lot of money, we didn't have a lot of resources, things like that. So I had to do so much on my own and figure out so much on my own. So naturally, it has taken me quite a while to really adapt to this role where I feel a little dependent on somebody else, right? But it's not that I'm codependent or anything like that. I am interdependent, right? We both contribute and things like that, which is something that I want to get into. but I want to be honest and more transparent, especially if you are also an ambitious babe, which I know you are, and you have been potentially hyper independent for a really long time. And this is kind of some of the realities that come with, being in an interdependent relationship. Because when you have kids, it is almost like inevitable, right? That you're in a very vulnerable position where most likely you can't work. Most likely, you are very limited in a physical capacity in terms of what you can do. So, what else can you do other than be trusting of your partner? So that is why, this is a bit of a side note, but that's why it's very important to understand who you're having children with, and also what expectations are had by everybody in regards to finances and roles and responsibilities when that happens. My husband and I grew up a bit similar. We're both have immigrant parents and so on and so forth. So we have traditional values, all those things. And we also never talked about, our expectations. We got together when we were not super young, but like still in a place where we didn't know the questions to ask prior to getting together or anything like that in terms of these kind of things that I'm talking about. But they are very important to consider. Luckily, we have kind of figured it out along the way in terms of what we thought we wanted, and now realistically what we want and what is even possible, right? I believe that I obviously wanted to be a mother first because that's what I saw my mom do. I wanted to, the home to be my domain, and we both kind of agreed on that. But we started seeing that it wasn't as possible, right? It wasn't as possible without basically me suffering for it, right? And I started realizing this is actually not what I want. I want to be able to delegate some of these things that are not enjoyable and not valuable to me and my family. They're valuable in general, but they're just not valuable to me as a person. They don't do anything for me, like doing laundry and cleaning. Obviously, all of that benefits myself and my family. That it needs to be done, but I just didn't believe that it needed to be done by me. And if we wanted to prioritize other things like our marriage and, my energy for that marriage and for my family, then those things would have to go. But again, 3 kids later, or almost 3 kids later, that took us quite a while to understand and to acknowledge and to accept and to plan out and to get funds for and all of the things. I also had to understand that for myself, being just a mom was never going to be what I wanted to be and do wholly forever, right? I realized very early on, even maybe before my firstborn came, that I definitely need a different avenue, a different outlet, something else. Like, I am an entrepreneur kind of like through and through in my mind, and and I'm just a passionate person in general. I'm a creative person in general for business and things like that. Like, I absolutely would need a different outlet other than just home, just motherhood, just being a wifey. So on top of the things that I didn't want to do in those roles, there was also the addition of the things that I did want to do that made me complete in who I am. And obviously the other roles benefited from me being a complete person. And so this, for me, was my business, basically. It was what I wanted to create in business, what I wanted to create in general on my own, how I wanted to use my mind in order to, create value of some sorts. So that being kind of the lead up and the backstory to kind of how I gotten to this point in my life now, where I have a very real passion and a real business that now it's not just playing entrepreneur anymore in that sense, and I've never been just playing entrepreneur, right? Like I've always invested a lot of time and a lot of energy and things like that, but now it was like a monetary investment. And I just want to share with you guys how I, as a very, recovering hyper independent girly, was able to really make peace with being a mom and also being an entrepreneur, and also understanding the value in being a mom. When I kept all the risks pretty low, didn't bother nobody, right? Didn't bother my husband. I took care of all of my responsibilities first and foremost. And then when I decided to put myself out there, kind of like in society after the pandemic and stuff like that, and even introducing myself, like people would be like, "Oh, like what do you do? Like what are you doing now?" Blah blah. And like literally like word of vomit, I would be like, "Oh, I'm just a mom," and instantly before the words even left my mouth, I realized just how ick it sounded for me for so many reasons. And people, I could see the ick on people when I would say that. They'd be like kind of uncomfortable, probably even more uncomfortable than when I say like, "Oh, I'm a life coach," they'd be like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah." And that was like on one hand when people would even ask, and then there would be like the other hand when people don't even ask. They just kind of assume that that's all you are, that's all you do. Like, let's say if they follow me on social media, or if they know I have 2 kids, they know that, my husband's successful or something like that. They kind of just assume that I don't do anything else. So there was like 2 ends of the stick, I guess, that I was dealing with. And I didn't like either one of those ends. Neither one of those ends truthfully represents like who I am or what I do or anything like that. Actually, even recently, it was a little bit offensive, not to me, because again, I'll tell you how I worked to do this. But it was a little bit of an offensive thing. Like I have a friend, I don't even remember who it was, one of my girlfriends, and we don't talk by any means with each other. We don't catch up with each other like a whole lot by any means. But it's one of those friends that we send memes to each other and whatever. And one of the memes she sent me just like recently was like, when it's the end of 2024 and all you've done is make everybody meals, like, and, a million meals every, for the year. And, had them, dealt with like a million meltdowns or something like that, something in regards to being a mom. And like, that's all you've done is like, you've just done those things. I wish I could find I don't even remember who it was. And I wish I could find the meme right now. But it was like kind of like degrading. Like all I've done is like clean the house and clean the mess and make meals and deal with people's shit all year. And it's just like, maybe other people, like maybe other moms, and maybe that's a reality for some moms for sure. But fuck, not me. I mean, obviously you guys know because you guys have been listening, but like I've been creating a brand. I've been creating a product all year while I've been creating a whole human ass being. So like, have I dealt with some of those things? Sure. But like, I have really a very peaceful life in the sense I work hard every single day. Don't get me wrong. And there's so much that I do as a mom that you cannot delegate, like you cannot delegate the rearing of 2 human beings. And I take that role extremely seriously. But the cleaning and the meals and like whatever, that's like I'm pretty gravy on that because I know my priorities and I know that what brings me value and satisfies my values, and some of those things, if I don't have the capacity for, I will not do, and I don't care to do them. So I know that some stay-at-home moms and such like don't have that ability and don't have that luxury, they don't have the finances, And I get that. And this is not for those people that just can't, I guess, like, especially like single moms and stuff. Like, listen, do you, you know? But this is for people that potentially have the resources or have the resources available and they just haven't figured it out. I'm sorry, but like, there's a way to figure it out. Again, I weigh out what is my real value in what I'm doing and what really brings me joy. And for me, that is having the energy and the capacity for the things that really matter to me, which is myself, which is my family, which is my business and that creative outlet. So has there been moments where I've lost my shit this year? Absolutely. But that's not all I've done. Have I mommed pretty freaking hard this year? Absolutely. But I'm not just a mom. And this might be kind of controversial, but I don't think anybody is just a mom. I think that if you are just a mom, you've kind of lost yourself in motherhood. And I don't think that that's a healthy thing, to be quite honest with you. I think that when you are losing yourself in just motherhood, then you're forgetting your relationships with, in marriage and with yourself, with other people. You're forgetting other things. Like, too much of one thing is not always the best thing. So I always give the advice to all my friends, and like some of them, the ones that don't have kids, like don't understand like what I mean. And they're like, oh, well, it's easy for you because like you have a business and a passion that you want to do. And I'm like, I don't care if you learn how to knit or whatever, like read a book, do something else. Like, don't just like do something for yourself. And like, that's like the whole premise of like the Zen AF Wellness Planner is like, feed your mind, feed your body, feed yourself. Also, like your wellness is also a thing. Like, I don't care if you go to the gym or, go to the park, like whatever it is, like feed elements of yourself. Don't just sit around and just be a mom every single day. It doesn't mean that you have to have some crazy passion. It doesn't mean like you can be your own passion, like just working on yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to monetize anything. I'm not saying that you have to start, putting links up or whatever, like that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that there should be a holistic view of you, and motherhood is only part of it. So again, all that being said and all the background on how I've gotten to this place, it still has taken me this long to really incorporate so much of who I am and leave behind some of the things that are not going to be useful for me, adopt new thoughts, things like that. Like, it has taken me 2 kids, almost 3 later, to really kind of integrate so much. And like, it's an evolving journey. Like, I'm for sure not done, but I do want to emphasize that at this point, I am really, really embodying the value of what it is to be a mom and not just a mom. And the way I did that is the first thing I did was I took the just part out of my vocabulary. It was simply a habit, right? It was definitely a habit because it was involuntary almost. It was like if somebody asked me, it would be like, oh yeah, I'm just a mom or whatever. But I mean, it's not like very many people asked me to begin with. So why was it such a strong habit? I have no idea. It was because likely, though, it was a habit in my own mind that I felt like that's all I was doing, or that's all that was valuable at the moment. Because, my business maybe wasn't off the ground, or I didn't find consistency in it yet because, again, I was mostly prioritizing being a mom. So I had to look at the value of my business, and I had to look at the value of being a mom as well in order to even enhance my business. So let me explain that. In order to take out that just part in the vocabulary, number one, I just stopped trying to say it, right? Like I just refrained from using the word just, okay? So that was a simple kind of fix. Not easy, but simple, right? And the other thing was like I really weighed out the value of what I was contributing to the world and my business, and also what I was contributing to my family and being a mom. All of that was very, very, very important. And I was able to do that quietly for some time, right? It's what allowed me to really take that just part out of the sentence and understand that I am, I have a very important role in creating life, number one, and creating good human beings. And I was very conscious and purposeful in that role, right? I have always been. I look at myself in that role and like what my triggers are. I look at my kids and, how they're different and what each of them needs. And I mean, it is a very, very, very mentally and emotionally tolling experience if you really care. Like, if you really care, then you will know that motherhood is pretty tough because you care, right? If you don't care, then it's just like, who cares? Like, they're acting this way, who doesn't matter, they're not sleeping, who cares? Like, but if you really care, then it's going to take some toll on you. So I knew that it was value. I started feeding the value of what it is that I was doing with motherhood, right? I started trying to understand how valuable it was, and you can put a monetary value on it if that's really what you want to do. But for me, it was always the intangible that speaks a little bit louder. Just personally, it motivates me more. It solidifies more value in my mind, because even if you paid somebody to take care of your kids and clean your house and do all your laundry and whatever, make dinners, whatever, order Uber Eats, DoorDash, if that's your thing, like all of that stuff, you can really put a monetary value, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year. So of course, like, it helps to look at those numbers. I truthfully have never like sat down and said like, oh, well, my nanny gets paid this much, it's how much she gets a year, blah blah. And whatever. So like I just have never done that. Again, it's not the most motivating thing for me. For me, it's kind of more the intangible of like having a mother, their mother, raise them and be doing the work to raise them well. And so feeding myself that value and that evidence of like what I am doing is valuable has really helped me in business. So let me explain that. Now that there's a monetary investment that needs to be made, and instead of like racking my brain on like, how am I going to get this money and this and this and that, how am I going to pay for it myself? How am I going to do it all myself? How am I going to do it all myself? Right? Well, I just instead reached into that bank of the value that I have already contributed, that I've already basically exchanged in being a mother and showing up for my home and for my marriage every single day, right? And so when my husband offers, I can easily now just say, okay, yeah, like, cool, I deserve it. And again, this has taken me obviously like 8 years to like really feel comfortable with and like be able to like be like, okay, I'll do that or whatever. But I will say that I had originally tried to like look at different avenues and do it myself and all those things. But I'm at a point where, I really have no other choice at this moment. Either I don't create what I want to create, or I take that investment. So right now, if you are in a position where you are also kind of devaluing your roles currently by using the word just, you're just a mom, then I would, number one, take that word just out of your vocabulary, right? Every single time you go to say it, just re-say it without that word. That's a simple first step. The second step was obviously to look at why you are saying that, right? Why are you saying you're just a mom? It's likely you are devaluing the other parts of your life, right? Your business part, your, personal part, whatever that self-realization or actualization part of you, right? If we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that top thing is like self-actualization, which is genuinely like why my husband supports me so much. And he understands like, even though we come from traditional backgrounds, that, a person has different needs, and like, that's just what it's going to be. And if truthfully, what we've noticed is like, if I don't have that outlet, then I'll bring those problems into our house or into our marriage. Like, I gotta get it out somewhere, that energy out somewhere, right? So if I don't feel, I need somewhere to feel like important and stuff like that, right? And, hopefully outside of motherhood and marriage and all that stuff, right? Because I don't want to derive my importance from just the people that I depend on and all that stuff. I just don't know how that would work out. I don't think that would be necessarily a healthy thing. Not to say that I'm not important in those roles, but, where do I derive my value from? It has to be from different aspects of my life, right? It can't just all be in one bucket. So, where are you devaluing the things that you do in that self-actualization kind of component to say that you're diminishing those things and saying that you are just a mom, because in the same breath you are also diminishing motherhood. So we also want to look at the value you are placing on being a mother. And like I mentioned, for me, it was like there was so much intangible, right? Because there's so much invisible work, right? They call it the mental load, the invisible work. There is so much of that in motherhood that goes so unnoticed. So one of the things that I love to do is just kind of making the intangible tangible by evaluating and looking and writing it down. Like, what is the value? What is the value? And as soon as you write it down, it becomes a tangible thing. This has really affected my life in so many different ways, just in my confidence almost as a person, my confidence as a mother and a wife, and just like in everything that I do is like what I do is valuable, right? Even if it's being a mom and so much of it is invisible, I still know. So I still carry myself in a different way. So when people send me these memes of like, oh, you're just a mom and like this is all you've done all year is like basically have a fucking miserable struggle filled life. Like, I'm like, bitch, who are you talking to? Not me. Because, what would you know? What would you know about me? That's what you might know about motherhood, but that's not me. And so I don't have to take it personal. And to be honest, I don't really even find it funny because I feel like this is a reality for some moms out there for sure that haven't figured it out and haven't or don't have the resources to figure it out. But even if that's all they've done all year, then it's more than that person could ever understand or could ever know. And it's quite a big, what do you say, like accomplishment really, because if you're saying that they've managed those meltdowns, that they've made those meals, that they've cleaned that home that many times and like whatever, and that's all they've done, sounds like they have a clean, happy, fed family. And nobody, unless you're a mom, would understand what kind of strength and mental capacity and physical and emotional capacity that would take to be that person. So like, I honestly commend whoever is, that's all you've done all year, right? But I wouldn't be me if I didn't offer that there could be a different reality where that's not all you've done, that you've actually figured out a way to maybe offload some of those things and recuperate some of that energy for yourself and for your relationships. I think that that's key, not just for success, but also for happiness. And now that I have really seen the value and understood the value and embody the value of not only who I am and what I do in all my roles, then obviously like looking at the intangible, making that tangible, and then looking at the real tangible of like, what is all of this worth that I do, then like obviously taking a fraction of that in terms of an investment is a no-brainer. Because just because maybe you don't bring in a significant income or whatever, then that doesn't mean that you don't work, right? And it kills me sometimes when I see I don't know, like mostly like social media posts when I used to talk to a lot of moms in terms of like sales calls and stuff, and they want to really contribute to their household and contribute to their household. But it's like, at that point, it's very clear to me that they are undervaluing how much they're contributing already. And for me, it was never a good idea to go and undertake an entrepreneurial role in that sense. It's like, if you really want to just contribute to your household, then by all means, just go get a little part-time job somewhere, and you can contribute there, because the entrepreneurial journey does not guarantee contribution, so quickly and so consistently, or it's a much bigger undertaking and a much different mindset and a much different required passion and energy than, I just want to contribute to my household, which is, I think it would be that could be a whole nother podcast in itself. So my ambitious babes, I think that's it. I just wanted to share a little bit behind the scenes in terms of like what I am currently, going through in terms of really navigating this and understanding my capacity, and also just like how I've been able to remove that just a mom kind of mentality and habit to say those exact words, and really transform it into true value for myself and evidence for myself. And it allows me to really gain that confidence and carry myself so much differently in my relationships, in my conversations, and so much more. Like, I had been really working on that literally for the 3 years that I've been back in Miami and back in society. As soon as I realized like, I have some work here to do, I've really been looking at it at so many different angles. And I hope that if you have noticed that you are also devaluing your roles as a woman, as an ambitious woman in this life, and one of them happens to be motherhood, I hope this really helps you to really understand and start shifting some of that, those thoughts and emotions towards being a mother, right? By really understanding the value you create, listing it down, writing it down, making it tangible, right? And even whether it's, the intangible ripple effect of creating amazing people in this society, or if it's, the very monetary amount somebody would be paid to do that role. I mean, maybe it's both, right? Maybe both would work for you. Then feel free to look at that and understand that and write that down and see it for yourself and see that evidence for yourself, and remind yourself of that every single day that you feel like that invisible work goes unnoticed, because I know that mostly it does, but it doesn't really matter to get that external validation. If you validate it within yourself, you have to be a little bit more self-validated, and that will help you tremendously. And I'm on this journey with you, promise you I am. And it's taken me so many years, so many babies later, but we're here. I also been loving giving you guys these sound bites from different people. There's one person that I've seen talk about this quite a bit, even though I'm truly not the biggest fan of her things, because she just sounds super salesy to me. However, I think she makes a really good point, and that's Elena Cardone.
I can't wait until women really own who they are and what our value is to this world. Because we will never hear "I'm just a mom" ever again. We will all make a declaration. We will never say "just a mom." And this is what the party should look like, okay? For all the moms out there that do a damn good job. We're not freaking perfect. Who's got the book on perfect? Well, we try, right? But wouldn't it be amazing if you show up at a party and they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I have reared 2 productive, contributing members of society. I've raised 2 children." And then they would look at me and be like this: "Wow, you're a mom. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the continuation of the civilization."
The truth is that moms have never been, socially glorified in any way. So again, it is up to us to be self-validated and know our own value and feed ourselves that knowing every single day that we can. And again, this is what's going to really transform so much in your life with all the roles that you hold as an ambitious woman that wants to have it all, be it all, do it all. And I really hope that this episode has helped. And hopefully by the time you listen to this, I'll have my third baby girl in my arms. We'll see. And if you have any favorite takeaways, please hit me up at Julia Garcia Devaney on TikTok or Instagram. Love you. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share your favorite takeaways with me at Julia Garcia Devaney, and be sure to leave us a review, as that would mean so much. And if you're ready to put the Zen back into your hustle and love your ambitious journey, be sure to download the Get Zen AF app, where you'll learn to prioritize yourself and truly become the #1 asset in your life and business. It's available in the App Store and Google Play. Check out the links in the show notes, and I'll see you inside.